welcome to Man Enough.
Yo!
The season finale.
Is this our last one? Are we going to do a season 2, by the way? Is this it? Is this it forever? Or
I don't know. Based on where you're both sitting, I don't know if you ever want to get anywhere near me.
Me and Liz perfectly said.
Because for any of our...
the chair. Oh my God. A lot of flukes. I feel like Mercury is in retrograde. There's been like spills and chairs swiveling.
If you're listening to this, I don't think it's possible for Jamie and Liz to sit farther away from me. This is a 6-foot table, and
well, part of it is because your beard has grown so.
Yes.
I mean, it's like Grizzly Adams, and also your nose. What's going on with your nose?
Oh.
So okay, you know what? I'm actually happy that you asked that question. This is so we found a little bit of skin cancer in my nose, something called basal cell carcinoma, and I had a big, huge chunk of my nose taken out. It wasn't a nose job. Sorry to disappoint you, Jamie. But a few months ago, I noticed a little like freckle-looking thing on my nose, and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen that before." And it was kind of like scabbing up, like I had like a blackhead or popped a zit or something. And I was like, "I don't remember doing that." And I just kind of watched it, and my body was like screaming at me, like, "What is that? What is that?" So I ignore it like most men do, because that's my first instinct, right? Being trained as a man to not go in. Right? Oh, it's nothing. I'm fine. It's not a big deal. It's the first thing that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look in the mirror, and my eye goes to that again a few days later, and there's a part of my body that's like, Justin, go get it checked out. I go to the dermatologist, right? I do what 69% of men don't do, which is I go to the doctor, and he took a biopsy of it, took a big chunk out, and called me a week later and said it was indeed a very common form of skin cancer, basal cell carcinoma. And went in like a couple days later and had this big surgery and big chunk taken out of my nose. I sent Jamie pictures. It was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, as I do, I talk about it with many people, that so many people have had it. Like my trainer the other day, I was like, tell him about it. And he lifts up his shirt and he's got a huge scar right here because he had it. Almost everyone I know has had some sort of something taken out, and yet we never talk about it. So the moral of the story is the biggest thing that's changed for me over this last year is just been doing a lot of deep work and really, really learning to listen and take that armor off. So, so yeah, enough about me. We're talking about this is the end of the season. I feel like we are all very different people now than we were a year and a half ago when we started this. I mean, we started this a year and a half ago.
It's
almost.
a year, dude.
Year?
It's like a year and a few weeks. Don't we all feel like different people?
It was March. It was March of 2021.
2021, and it's
so
May.
much has changed.
I mean, come on. If we were to go back a year to the first day on
my
set,
God. Do you remember that?
when we started this podcast, like there was so much armor. All of us were armored. There was so much that wasn't being said, that was being felt. There's so much that wasn't even being. I feel like there's so much that we weren't allowing ourselves to all feel too. And now I feel like I can be honest and I can be real. And, in a conversation about one of the most controversial issues like abortion, just be real with you guys and feel pretty confident that that'll be received and that we'll grow together as a result. And so, like, I don't know.
One of the things we said it early on, and I want to give us all props here, is like we said, this is about staying in the room.
Yeah.
And I think we did.
Even though sometimes we didn't always want to. We've been through from the beginning. We've had so many incredible conversations with so many people about things that we all agree on, so much of it. And then there are like little nuances that we don't. And oftentimes those nuances keep people an ocean apart. But we've been able to demonstrate, as you said, staying in the room, having them out. We've had a lot of tears. We've had some people angry at different times, hurt, not seen, because we have them out. This is what life is. When you have stuff, it's not always easy. But we've navigated through it and have learned that by having these conversations, disagreeing, but also respecting one another, and then seeing that we pretty much agree on most stuff.
Or we don't, but we care about each other enough to listen.
That's right.
And I feel like the reason why I didn't know who this was for. when this podcast started. That's what I was told with my book. That's what you were told with your book, right? Who is going to listen to conversations about masculinity is, I think, now less of a question than it was a year ago. But I really was like, who's going to tune into this? And now I know that there are people who actually never really thought about masculinity or care about gender that tune into this show because we're showing something very different. What I see on my newsfeed constantly is people on cable news or people even on podcasts or, right, sort of talking about these controversial issues, but like screaming at each other. Mm-hmm. And I think that what we're able to show is tension, discomfort, pain, suffering, but then a resolution and like actually listening to what the person said and taking it in and then growing together. I really, and it just kind of dawned on me as you were talking that's, I feel, has been what people have told me they've loved about our show. Not necessarily we all obviously have amazing guests and we have incredible stories and we have an amazing production team and, all of those things obviously help. Justin has amazing hair, but it's also the way that we approach it. That's, I don't know. It feels good to me because I don't feel like I see that.
Jamie, what about you? What's been happening this last year? How you feel?
This last year's been quite a year. I did a podcast. We did our own podcast where we talked about our own lives. And while I've done a lot of work, to do that in this fashion and to share my story and truth has branched into many different areas where I've been called upon or called on with people that have been experiencing stuff that they didn't feel safe to share it. And me expressing my own brokenness or humanness has been really meaningful to me. That my indiscretions were not just in vain, even though I wish I could take them all back, but they're not that. And then also some big news, which I'm a little worried about sharing this.
What is happening?
Because Justin and Andy and Juan are going to run with this one. But I am going to be a grandpa. What the hell? I'm going to be a grandpa. Aren't I like 30 years old? I feel like I'm... So...
Wait, so you can say it now?
Actually...
Well, I can say it because this is not going to air until it's going to air. So this stays in this room right now. But I do have permission from my daughter to share it, knowing that this wouldn't air.
Isn't that amazing?
I'm so happy for you.
What the hell? I'm going to be a grandpa?
You are.
That is probably the biggest life change that's about to happen here.
I love Liz's reaction. Jamie told me a little while ago, but I can't wait to have the lower Chiron say Jamie Heath grandfather.
It's such a sweet.
I want to encourage all of our listeners, anybody who's watching this, to please comment on anything that you see or anything that Jamie does and say grandpa. Because let me just tell you, what a lucky child.
Yeah.
What a lucky child they're going to be to have you as a grandfather. Seriously. And how lucky are your children? You're going to be such an amazing grandfather. So jokes aside, I love you so much.
Yeah, I love you, brother. It's really crazy because, man, I've been through a lot in my life. We all been through some, I'm 52 years old now. Been married 3 times. I've hurt a lot of people. I've gone through the bottom of the ocean, and now I feel like I'm at the top in so many ways. And Liz, you have been so sweet in my life because you are so kind and loving and gentle, and yet you hold our feet to the fire and you speak your truth. And it has changed my heart and my eyes in a lot of ways that they would have not been otherwise. Thank you for all that. And to now be able to own being a grandpa, man, and I can stand tall in it and, not like cower through it, even though I know you're going to run with it.
It's going to get old after a while because I already love, look, I have a What is that? If you're like, if our kids are cousins, what does that mean?
Oh, Jesus.
I'm confused.
Because our kids, I got a 5 and 6-year-old right now, right? So I'm going to have a grandchild that's be about the same age. Knowing that I have a grandchild coming, the things that we talk about, the work that we're doing now, what I do now, is not just me and now my children, but my grandchild. We really, really have to do it. You know, this podcast costs money to do it. You know, we're not getting rich from this.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, so yeah, my life's changed a lot in this. We've changed some lives too.
Yeah.
You know, we've heard some people that have.
Let's talk about that for 1 second, because just before we started recording, Jamie told us about a DM he got. Now, for anybody who's listening, and for both of you to know, the reason that this company exists, the reason that Wayfarer exists, the reason we've been able to start the studio and even been able to finance something like this, is because when I made a documentary 10 years ago now about Zach Sobiech, the guitar there, my last movie, Clouds, one of the comments was from a man who had tried to kill himself multiple times, and he was going to try again, I believe that evening. And he stumbled across Zach's video, watched it, and then he decided that he had a reason to live. And if Zach could live the way that Zach lived, despite knowing his diagnosis and prognosis, then maybe he could too. He could beat the odds. And before we got on the air, you shared a DM that you just got.
I got a little while ago, but a DM of somebody who was en route to take their life. And said that they were literally en route to gathered the items or whatever it was to carry out this act. And on the way, listened to one of our episodes. And that was enough to detour them and to allow them to pause because of the hope that they felt from our conversation, and that they were experiencing something that they were hopeless in. And hearing us talk about it was enough. And, you know, I mean, my goodness.
And then that alone, that life makes the 40-something episodes
That's
all
it.
the time. It makes it worth it.
You kidding me? Hell yeah.
And if you are listening to this and you by chance are one of those people who've been struggling, just know that we need you here.
Yeah.
You are loved. You are valued. You are seen. You have a purpose. You are worthy. Turn the car around. We need you here. It's been such a joy. We've learned so much, and it's because of that that we are proud to announce that we are going to do a season 2 of this show.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop.
We are going to do a season 2 of the show. We can't not. And who knows? We might change the format a little bit next year, but all we know is that the 3 of us are going to be back. It's too important. I don't know how Liz is going to be back. I mean, Liz is doing 7. I mean, she's literally in 5
Look
places
who's
at once.
talking. Yeah. Look, you're the president
Actually,
of the
that's true.
company.
Jamie,
You're doing the podcast. What are you doing? Don't you have a company?
Don't try to deflect right now. You're
I can't
all
wait.
over the place.
Hold on. I can't wait to have his wife on next season.
Oh, I can't wait
Natasha
either.
Oof.
She's incredible.
Hey, let's do this. She is incredible. Thank you for saying that. My wife. You know what? I have not done much of. I mean, of course, I give her all the props and recognition that she needs. Not that she needs, that she deserves. But she really is fantastic.
Yes.
I do not deserve her. That is the truth. That's not about me, that I'm not worthy.
No.
I don't think anyone deserves.
I'm telling you what I think.
Hold on.
However, no. Let me tell you. I do not believe, I don't care what y'all say, that I have earned and deserve her. However,
I disagree.
when God gives you a gift, you don't say no. You just accept it. And you say,
right.
I'll do the best I will show up with this gift. I don't need anything back. She is incredible. Natasha, I love you. You are amazing.
Oh, and then quick change of subject. Can you hand me that book behind you? I'm
sorry, what book?
The one on the right.
Not
For the Love of Men by Liz Plank, which I recommend everybody get. I'm
talking about
this. Now, let me just say something. It's very hard for me. I have a lot of resistance to self-promotion. It's very difficult for me. And that's one of the things I've been working through, because that's not my stuff.
Got it.
That's not my stuff. I look at my daughter as an example, who is going to be 7 soon, and she cannot wait for her birthday. She's so excited to have a birthday party, to invite everybody over, to be celebrated. That's her natural inclination, is that she is worthy and valued and wants to be celebrated. And yet, for me, when my birthday comes around, I want to hide. And I don't know where that comes from. Part of it's trauma, part of it's the way I was raised, part of it's kids not liking me, not showing up to my birthday. It's created this thing where I want to hide. And I'm looking at my daughter and I'm saying, hold on, I'm in there. There's a part of me that's in there. So what I'm learning to do is push past that resistance. Because I wrote a book and I'm really damn proud of it. And I worked really hard. Liz Plank is thanked in the end because she read it and gave me wonderful notes. And it came out on paperback. And
looks good.
It looks beautiful.
It's really nice.
A dear friend of mine, Brandy, designed this because, first of all, I asked for my face not to be on the original book.
I remember.
Because honestly, that was just my thing. That was like, it's like my feeling was that if my face was on the book, it would be an extra barrier that we don't need to prevent men from reading it. And believe it or not,
that turned out to be true.
It turned out to be true. I got DMs from men who admitted to taking the cover off the book to read it in public. Let's take my face off of the cover. Because at the end of the day, this message is not about me. This is for men. And if you are interested, and if you're a man who didn't buy the book because you didn't want to read a book with a man's face on the cover or my face, now you don't have to worry about that. It's on. It's out on paperback.
Everyone should go get it.
What's it called?
Every man should read it.
I think it's called Man Enough.
I think it's called Man Enough.
I think it's called Man Enough. And for all of you parents out there, the book for boys, the middle grade book for boys coming out in October is called Boys Will Be Human. And it's so important, and I'm so proud of that one, and we'll be promoting that later on. But just know that if you are a parent and you have a 10 to 18-year-old, I know what you're going through. I was that boy, and there's something for you coming. Okay.
And the reason why this podcast exists is your book and you and all of the blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into all of this, which people don't see and people don't know. And even what they can imagine, it's like actually times 10. And probably what I can imagine is times 100, what it actually was for you to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and helping me. Because I'm not the same man that wrote the book. And a lot of that is thanks to you. And all of the women in my life who have just been incredible. And the women behind the scenes of this podcast.
Yes.
And two of the men, Kahea, and our incredible leader, Tara, Josh, our editor. We've just got an amazing team, and we're bringing this to you because we love you. Just remember that.
Also,
okay.
Before,
oh my God! You just
before we
knocked
move
over
on,
the entire shelf.
Before we move on, well, I knocked it off for good reason. Let's also just talk about For the Love of Men, a book that Liz Plank has written.
The gift that keeps on giving.
And you wrote this because you love men. And you knew that we needed to hear some things with love.
And if you are interested to learn more about how men like myself have a first instinct to not go to the doctor, Liz has an entire section of her book dedicated to that. It's an amazing book. Highly suggest you get it. We're going to keep you busy with books.
That's right.
And so many of our guests write books.
Yes, so many of our guests. We should. And there's a book club, right? Doesn't Man Enough have a little book club?
Yep, Man Enough is starting a book club.
It's incredible.
But you know what? We've talked. Let's dive in.
All right.
Let's dive in. Let's go on a break real quick, and then we'll come back and then share with some of our guests and their reflections.
Awesome. We'll be right back. This is Man. And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Life in 2022 can be overwhelming. And so many people are burned out and they don't even know it. Those symptoms of burnout can look like lack of motivation, feeling helpless or trapped, feelings of despair or depression, fatigue, detachment, and so much more. I know personally, I have burned out multiple times. It's easy. We just work. And because so much of our worth is tied to our productivity, we never take the time to pause, which is why I'm such a huge fan of therapy. I'm a huge fan of online therapy. And I can tell you firsthand that for me, and I am someone who is privileged to be able to afford therapy, it has made such a huge difference in my life, in my marriage, in my relationships, in my work. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So You don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. And our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/manenough. That's betterhelp.com/manenough. Tony Porter, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to the Man Enough podcast. How are you?
All things considering,
Yeah.
well, I had a grandbaby born today.
Congrats. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
right.
that is really sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
7
congratulations.
pounds, 3 ounces. I'm saying her name. Her name is Reese. Still making assumptions there, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But her name is Reese. And I'm excited, very, very excited about that.
Wow,
Yes.
congratulations.
Tony, something I think
Man,
about.
that's amazing.
I just got done writing a book for young boys, and one of the things I was thinking about a lot is the future I hope for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, Audible here. Your granddaughter is born today. What do you hope for her future?
Yeah, so if she grows up identifying as a cisgendered woman, when I think from that perspective, and as it relates to my work, I really want a world as a Black woman. I truly want a world where Black women are heard, honored, seen, respected, right, and valued. I want to see that world. I may not be here to see that world, but I definitely hope and that I'm serving and playing my role in the creation of that world.
Tell us what we all can do to see that world.
I truly want to ask those of us who have influence, those of us who have platforms, platform meaning what we choose to elevate, to really, really be intentional, right? When we call ourselves allies, what does that mean? I'd rather you call yourself an aspiring, practicing ally, because many people call themselves allies. They're not practicing, they're actually performative. I don't want us to be performative. I want us to be practicing allies. I want us to be aspiring allies, which means you truly never arrive. Now, you have to have empathy, right? You have to have empathy, all right, to try to really connect with what's going on in those lives, folks' lives, but you're always an aspiring ally. There's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There's no certificate of completion. It's a lifetime journey.
Yeah, and you certainly made us reflect about the presence of women of color behind the podcast, how important it is to center Black women in conversations that we're having just about anything, but even in conversations about masculinity. What has changed for you, or have you reflected on those conversations? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think in reflecting on the conversations we had, for me, it was more about how you all push me in respect to authenticity and transparency. You were really drilling at me, pushing at me, plucking at me. And more than I wanted to give. And I went with the flow. I trust you. It was more than I wanted to give. But the response I got from that, be it from the public response, be it from my staff, they watched the podcast together, and then separate of me, and then just had a conversation about it, and a conversation about me and my leadership and my vision and the visioning in the organization. And it really helped me to understand and to push myself further in regards to transparency. It also helped me to further understand that while I may very well bring a tremendous amount of wisdom to the space, I got to keep up, right? I got to keep up with them to the best of my ability, that my wisdom in of itself is not going to carry me. I got to be alongside of them. And that means I got to stay in the race, man. So it was, I had some good personal reflection coming out of that time hanging out with y'all.
Oh man, what a
Thank
sweet
you,
thing
Tony.
to hear.
Well,
Thank you so much.
I will tell you, this podcast wouldn't exist without Tony Porter and the work of A Call to Men. And I want to thank you for all of that work and for your wisdom and for being an example and a model for men like me and Jamie, especially Jamie, because, He's getting up there in age. I mean,
I knew it.
There you go.
I
See,
knew
you
it.
gotta
He's
do
got it.
something.
he's got to stay in the race too. But really, your work is so inspiring and meaningful and touches the hearts of all of us and makes us want to be and pushes us to be better men. So,
And let me add to that, Tony. You speak truth. You say it in a way that is digestible, but you don't hold back. Like, for instance, on our podcast, I'm gonna bring up something real quick. The last one that we did with you, you had said, we had said, what are some ways we can do things? And you said, I don't see no black women on this set. Right? I then said, amen, or something like that. And I'm going to just say something that might be uncomfortable. Justin, I had a conversation, and my brother here, he felt a little vulnerable being a white man on a set. You saying something like that, me praising it, echoing it, and him feeling, oh, what do I do with that? But what he didn't do is deflect. What you didn't do, which I'm used to, shit, I'm gonna go cry on this. What I'm used to is when someone points something out, a lot of white men will get defensive and make it about them. And you didn't do that. You acknowledged that it made you feel uncomfortable. There was some uneasiness with it. And then you sat with it. And then you just were like, what do we got to do? And so I appreciate that you're able to do that and give us those direction and how we can do better. And I appreciate that you express two things. One is the real things that oftentimes white people can feel when they're called out, that you didn't hide behind it, that you felt something, but then you didn't make it about you. Then you just showed up. And I appreciate that.
And kept it in the episode and made a change.
That's right, and kept it in there.
Too.
it's unfortunate
You
that the
know?
bar is that low that has to make you cry, and I'm sorry.
That's not that the
No,
bar
but
is low.
that's just how disappointed you've been for so many years being close to
and
white people.
inspired when I see when it's done. When
Okay,
you
I'll take that.
you kept
I
it in
love
an
you.
episode. You could have been like, no, I don't want that in an episode because it doesn't make me look so blah 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 blah. But you were willing to, because you probably had a feeling of like, oh, I don't want that to be. I don't want, but you didn't do that. Which is what we have. We have to do.
Well, and also, I mean, this is a longer conversation, but a lot of those feelings I was having weren't even directly a result of that. They were, as he was talking about, other things like sexual assault and trauma. I was having my own experiences come up during that episode and feeling all kinds of ways. And I just had to de-mesh them. But hell yeah, we got a lot of work to do in that area. But
Well, thank you for giving us space to do that and asking questions and making statements that allow for growth.
we love you, Tony Porter.
Thank you, Tony, for everything.
Yeah, I love you.
Give
Yes,
Ted
love you, man.
Ted a big hug. We're gonna have Ted on the podcast next season.
Good. Let's do that.
And congratulations again, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Appreciate
Grandpa.
it. All right. Okay.
Grandpa Tony.
Bye, Tony.
See y'all later.
All right, everybody. We want to share with you some of our guests. They've responded pretty well to being on our show. And many of them have offered us some video about their reflections and, what they've gone through and learned. And
So sweet to watch
It
these
is so
videos.
sweet that they
So
did that.
sweet.
They're all very busy people doing
So
very
busy.
important things in the world.
So let's start with ALOK. ALOK really, really changed the trajectory of our podcast. We have to just say that.
Yeah.
They just moved our hearts so very much, opened our eyes to things that maybe they were closed to before.
And their message is more important now than ever.
Yeah.
Indeed. So let's go to ALOK.
Hey everyone, it's ALOK. I'm coming to you in a time of absolute grief. We recently lost my aunt, Urvashi Vaib, who was a prominent lesbian activist, but first and foremost to me, she was a mentor. She was someone who believed in me before I could believe in myself. So it's hard to feel like enough in this moment. Like, how do I do justice to the life that she helped create in me, to the world that she dreamed of, to her goals politically and personally? But what's helping me feel like I'm enough is remembering that I am the living memorial. I am the embodiment of my ancestors' wildest imaginations, that they resisted and rioted and protested, that they made winged eyeliner and posed and committed to glamour so and such that I could exist as freely and unapologetically as I do today. So becoming a student of history, becoming a disciple of the past, to become an architect for the future, that's what makes me feel like enough. Remembering that I'm part of a continuum, of an intergenerational force that insists on a more dignified and just world. Remembering that even though that I might go and that the people that we love might go, the message continues forever. What makes me feel like enough, I guess, is committing to the message over the messenger, feeling a deep need to preach love wherever I go, to insist that it's not only possible but necessary to love ourselves more than they could ever hate us. A lot has changed since I was on the Man Enough podcast. I think for me, that experience was a lesson from the universe that being vulnerable is necessary, but also magnetizes people who are ready for it. I think I allowed myself to feel publicly in a way that I haven't in that interview. I really went there and people were ready to receive it. And it was a lesson to me that mirror neurons are real, but we can reflect the kind of emotionality we want to see reciprocated back to us. And there's so many times when the voice in my head tells me to edit, to modify, to compartmentalize, to disappear, to self-immolate. But that experience was a reminder to expand and transcend and be real, because I think we're all hungry for that authenticity. And it taught me that when we're authentic, we can conjure and conjure something so much more different and splendid, something that actually lands and feels meaningful. What's also changed is that the climate of anti-trans harassment, violence, and legislation has accelerated. Now, a year later, we have even more anti-trans legislations, and many of which are actually being passed. There's this extreme culture of fear-mongering that is making people think that trans and non-binary people are the threat, when in fact we're the ones in danger. And it feels humiliating, and deeply painful, and dreadful to watch the disposability of the people that I love, to see the ways in which people normalize our continued exile from public life. And what I would ask everyone watching to do is to recommit to fighting for gender self-determination in a world beyond the gender binary, not just to show up for trans and non-binary people, but to show up for yourself. Do we want to live in a world where these kinds of policies, where this manufactured fear is the currency of a political system that profits off of hate and fear? I don't. Do you? I don't want to live in a world where hate is profitable. I don't want to live in a world where hate is the only way that we know how to relate to different. So I would ask people to recommit to compassion in this moment, and the militancy of compassion, to insist on a more dignified world in practice, in every action, and all the ways that we show up for one another. And in doing that, and continuing to choose compassion, I think that's how we'll win. And we'll create a world where not only are trans and non-binary people safe, but where all of us are free.
Wow, that was powerful. Our deepest condolences to your aunt, Urvashi. She sounds incredible. Yeah. And it's very clear why ALOK has ended up the way that they have. Okay, let's go to Richie Reseda.
Oh man, Richie. Richie Reseda was on the episode with Richie and Manny.
Yes.
Which, remember that they were incarcerated and they owned their mistakes. They didn't deflect.
Prison feminism.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And how powerful they were.
Yes, and funny and fun
funny and
at
brilliant.
the
man.
same time.
So good.
And Richie was able to offer some reflection. So
Yeah.
let's go to Richie.
What's the big old deal, y'all? It's your boy, Richie Reseda. Thank you so much for having me. I was so happy to be on the Man Enough podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts or just interviews I've ever done. I was really excited to just talk about accountability and be able to have just a more interesting, engaging, and I think helpful and fruitful conversation than just like some feminism 101 for men type shit. Places in my life where I felt like I'm not enough creatively. It's been very hard to center myself and center my creativity. That's a place where I felt like I'm not enough. Also, doing abolition work, you know, the system is always just eating at our people, whether it's keeping people inside, taking people inside. And it's hard to feel like it's hard for me to feel like I'm ever doing enough because my people are still there. So the results, no matter how hard I work, sometimes I can't control, and that makes me feel like I'm not enough. What makes me feel like I am enough is my community reminding me all the time. That's really come in handy recently. There's been a lot of pain in my community. I got 3 different brothers who got court dates this week. And it's been a challenge, and the community has been everything. Shout out to the community at Man Enough. Cannot thank y'all enough for the platform you provided, for the conversation you provided. People still hit me up to this day about what they learned about accountability in that conversation. I think it's just vital skills. As humans, we need to learn how to be accountable so we can learn how to hold people accountable, so we can stop using violence instead of accountability when there's harm. And y'all provided a really beautiful platform for that. So thank you, and hope to be back.
Thank you so much for that message, Richie. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're catching up and checking in with Eldra Jackson.
Our amazing partner, P&G, aspires to build a better world where boys and girls, men and women of all backgrounds and abilities can learn, grow, succeed, and thrive with equal access and opportunity. Gender bias and stereotypes can get in the way of us truly seeing and treating each other as equals. This shows up everywhere. It's in our homes, it's in our schools, and it's in our workplaces. P&G, the maker of brands like Tide, Swiffer, Mr. Clean, Pantene, and Braun, is dedicated to supporting communities like ours, like Man Enough, where we undefine masculinity. See, undefining masculinity can help us create a more gender-equal world, where everyone has a shot at achieving their dreams. Now, our conversations on this show can become uncomfortable, but they cover a broad range of topics with guests sharing so many different points of view, and those points of view are so important because having these uncomfortable conversations with influential people is so important, not just for the betterment of men, but for the entire world as a whole community. So thank you, P&G, for stepping up as a force for good in the world. Visit pggoodeveryday.com to learn more. Eldra Jackson, welcome back to the Man Up Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me back. It's an honor and a pleasure.
So, as you know, last time we asked you, when was the last time you didn't feel enough? And what we want to know now is what is making you feel enough these days?
What is contributing to me feeling enough is living into my purpose, living into what feels like my purpose. Being with people, connecting with people, and contributing to spaces where people begin to realize their own power and take agency over their own lives. And in spite of very real situations and circumstances, determining who they will be.
I love that. I think that very often in our patriarchal framing of masculinity, particularly, right, that feeling powerful is power over others, but it seems like you have a very different definition where power comes from, in a way, kind of empowering other people to be fully themselves.
Certainly. I think that there's there are very real situations where individuals have power over another person or a group of people, and generally, in my experience, that contributes to some sort of issues or problems sooner or later. And power can be a very false notion that's right there next to control. And the only things that I really have control over or power over is myself.
Yeah.
I may be able to force somebody to do something or scare somebody into do something, but that's not really power.
Eldra, you know, a really dear friend of mine who's a professor at San Diego State, he teaches sociology and has these amazing young minds that he's speaking to. And they have used your episode, in fact, in their classroom to form discussions and based around a lot of the stuff that you had shared. So I just want to thank you so very much for coming on our podcast and elevating its content and giving it a perspective that maybe no one else could have. And you've inspired me. Thank you so much for all you do.
You're welcome. And that is very humbling.
Tell us what has changed in your life since you joined us last. What's new?
A deepening sadness about the state of the world and the state of people and how fear puts us all in danger. When people who are in power or people who have positions to make are in positions to make decisions that affect a lot of people, and it is coming from positions of fear. Fear is informing. It contributes to a lot of the things that we see today. And so what's changed for me is a deeper commitment to continue to do the work that I do in order to maybe empower folks to free themselves from that.
And how are you personally dealing with that sadness? How are you allowing yourself to feel it? You giving yourself moments? What's Eldra doing?
Oh, I feel it every day. It's present every day. It can't be. I'm in touch with my humanity today, so it's impossible for me to choose not to feel it. So it runs right alongside my joy. It runs right alongside every other emotion that I feel. It's right there. It's very present. It doesn't control me, but I'm very tapped in and in tune with it.
What might you say in a bite-sized nugget that you have learned in your life that has made you be a more incredible person, a better version of what we can be as men? And maybe that's something that you can say to someone that they might be able to glean and change themselves.
What I've learned from myself, and I continue to learn every day, is that, and I'll speak from the perspective of being a man. As a man, I carry a certain amount of energy that when I am not aware of how I am directing it, it can be very damaging to people who are not men. And that can be intentional and it can be unintentional. When I'm not in tune with who I am and I'm not in touch with my emotions and feelings, and I just allow them to burst out into the world, it makes for an unsafe world for some people. And I have a responsibility to be aware of that. So I would encourage, and if I'm able to inspire men to get more in touch with and be able to harness and focus the very magnanimous and powerful being that we have, and be intentional around how we show up.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
such a
love
good
that.
way to put it. Because I think a lot of men will think, well, we're trying to make men into crybabies, and right, like this idea that being vulnerable somehow means that you're overly emotional, but actually not being aligned or in touch with how you're feeling actually makes you have a lot less control over those emotions and how they come out and how they affect other people. So I love that framing of it.
I love it so much.
Love it. Tell us something that has recently brought your spirit joy, something that really, you do a lot of stuff in the world, but there every now and again, there's something that just really lifts your spirit. What would that be?
Certainly. This is an easy one. Just under a month ago, in cooperation with some of our community partners, the Annie E. Casey Foundation, Homeboys Industries, and NARC, the National Association for the Advancement of Returning Citizens, we opened the first of what we dream to be many healing homes. And it is an opportunity for young individuals, mainly in New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey, to have a second chance at a first-class life. We got the opportunity to open a home that has 7 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 3 levels. It's got 2 decks on it. And these young men don't have to go back to the same toxic environments that contributed to them being incarcerated in the first place. They're not in the same environments where they feel like hunted big game on the savannah. They don't feel like they have to carry weapons. They're going to school. They're employed. And they are really living what can be the American, what should be the American dream.
And how can people support that work?
Wow.
People can support that work by donating to Inside Circle. They can donate to NARC, the National Association for the Advancement of Returning Citizens, and Homeboy Industries. We, again, are looking to open one of these homes in every city in America so folks can move from the places that they would habitually return to, and our recidivism rate goes up, our murder rate goes up. They can move someplace else and really start fresh and anew.
You know what's beautiful, amazing, is I had asked you something that brought you joy recently. And rather than speak about something that personally you are benefiting from, you spoke about how others are benefiting from something. So I love that you demonstrate that for us. So thank you, because that's really what should always be in the forefront of our minds. But I also, just quickly, tell me something that has brought Eldra personal satisfaction, something. It might just be a new shirt you bought. It might be whatever it may be. Tell me something that you are experiencing joy in yourself, that you benefit from.
Okay. Something that I personally benefit from that is new since the last time we talked. I got a tow behind trailer.
All right.
We go camping in an RV. It's a toy hauler, so we can pack up all our ATVs and motorcycles and go off riding and unplug from all of the shenanigans and poppycock that goes on in the world.
I love that. That's great.
Van life. I love it.
Eldra, thank you so much for joining us, brother. So good to see you.
Thank you.
So good to see you.
As we said to you last time, my friend, you are so much more than enough. And thank you for filling our hearts and for filling the space with love. And I'm going to take that quote, harness the energy. That's what we got to do right now.
That's right.
We appreciate you and all your beautiful work.
Thanks
for joining us again.
Honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
God bless you, brother.
Yes, sir. All right, Jay, we also have your wife who is really brilliant and smart and cares and feels a lot and has been probably single-handedly, maybe not single-handedly, but mostly responsible for your growth because of she has challenged you, demanded of you to be better. And she also does the work herself. She's an incredible mother and is advocate for mothers. And also her and Liz was so interesting that you both care so much about advancing all people, but also women.
And mothers.
And mothers. And before she came on, I honestly was a little worried because you both care, but have different perspectives of how you different lanes go at it. And I thought, I wonder where that's going to be. And yet,
oh my God.
it's like, oh no, you guys were just on each other's side.
That's also my wife has this effect on people where I think you could put her in a room with someone that has a different opinion and she's just so grounded in the earth and so filled with compassion that I've just seen this. It's like she's just a healer.
Yeah.
She's here to heal. It's just a love fest. So with that, I had a chance to talk to my wife.
20 minutes just to talk to each other. How exciting. 20
minutes just to talk to each other. So please enjoy that conversation with my amazing wife.
Hi, my love. That's so cute.
People are going to think that was planned. Definitely not planned.
Definitely not planned.
Well, welcome back to the Man Enough podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Did you know that your episode is one of our most downloaded, listened to episodes of the entire 40-something, 50 episode season?
That's really cool. I think anytime, you guys cover so many important and amazing topics, but I do think that just like the topic of parenthood and motherhood is not talked about enough. So I think when mothers hear about something like that, they will tune in and see what they can find there.
I also think you deliver it in such a sincere and grounded and beautiful way. We always start the show with the question, what you remember, when was the last time you didn't feel enough?
Mm-hmm.
But let's flip it. When was the last time you felt enough?
I have short moments when I remember that I'm here to be me. Not what anybody else tells me or needs me to be. I'm here to be me. My job is to figure out who me is. And when I tap into that, I feel enough. Untethering from what society and the patriarchy and just people in general need me to be, what others want me to be. And it's been one of the biggest jobs I've ever had to break free from that box. And it's been uncomfortable and painful and awkward. And also very, it gives me that sense of freedom. And it's the simplest thing in the world because I just show up as me, but it feels holy, it feels sacred, and it feels more than enough. And I can't tell you exactly when the last moment was, or the latest moment.
I think I know.
Really?
Last night.
Yeah, that's actually true. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had like a little witchy ritual in the full moon and the lunar eclipse.
So for anybody listening, I just want you to know, and I say this with love, my wife is a witch. And it is one of the coolest things
Burning
ever.
my Palo Santo right now.
I am married to a witch, and it's the best thing ever. And last night was the full moon and the eclipse, and we did a burning of our intentions ritual, and we did some moon bathing, and everyone's gonna think we're such hippies. I'm down to be a hippie. I'm all about
I love
it. With
You're so down. You're so game when we do these things.
So game. But it was so sweet watching you last night during your ritual as you're drinking your water and whispering your intentions into it, and you're bathing in the light of the full red moon's lunar eclipse, and you were just so. I was just like, damn, that's my wife.
And that might seem like, what I've struggled with talking about being enough. It's just like, in the past, I've looked at that and I've asked myself, how could that possibly be enough? How could me spending time in what I feel is magic, if I spend time with the things that bring me bliss, how could that possibly be enough? How am I helping humankind? How am I saving the planet? How am I doing my part? How am I making myself worthy of the space that I'm taking up on the planet? It's been such a hustle to figure out how to be worthy, how to be doing enough, how to be enough. And man, that stuff is exhausting. And it makes me show up with half of me just depressed and anxious and exhausted. And what I've learned in this past year since our last podcast together, I've done a lot of work in allowing myself to follow my bliss and what feels like my soul's mission on the planet. Part of that looks like rituals and prayer and meditation and connecting to Mother Earth and God and
dancing
work and dancing,
shaking it out,
like coming back home, right? And I used to judge that so much, but that is where I find my magic. That's where I find my light. That's where I have downloads that I can then turn into a service to others. That's where I get to process my trauma and find compassion for myself so that I can sit with other people's trauma and have compassion for them, even if they're completely different from me.
The world we live in, the patriarchy, the P word, if you will, it's like even for those that have the best of intentions, right? Even when you think of activism and activists and social media activists and all of this stuff, the trendiness of activism, even, I think we forget, and you were the one that's helped me remember this, is that none of the things you do out there matter if you don't start doing it here with the person in the mirror first. But we don't go in. And how can we sit with the world's pain if we don't know how to deal with ours?
I'm going to read you a quote. I don't think
baby.
I've read you this. I think I read this to you like a few months ago, but this is so good. I have to share it. It's by Meister Eckhart. And he said, the outer work can never be small if the inner work is great. And the outer work can never be great if the inner work is small.
Boom.
There it is.
Boom.
Right?
That's
and
it.
also, like, how are we truly serving the world if we're just, a bunch of chickens running around with our heads cut off with burnt nervous systems and just coming from a place of lack and unworthiness? And I mean, of course, we might show up and we might be helpful here and there. And I'm sure that there's deep inside there's an intention of really wanting to be of help and wanting to be of service. Absolutely. But do you want to show up full and efficient and powerful and truthful and able to hold, like being a bowl with a big ass capacity to hold everything? Or do you want to show up as half of yourself? Scrambling, like rushing off to the next thing. Oh, where am I needed?
Yeah.
Like, what can I do that will show up in the best way and most phenomenal way so that people know that I'm here and I'm worthy? That's not going to heal much of anything, right?
Because we're already worthy.
We are enough. But it takes a journey to understand that. And I struggled with that for years, this whole idea of, you're enough, Emily. Remember, you are enough. And I'm like, no, I'm not. That's not my conditioning and my belief at all. I've not been taught that I am enough. So it can't just be an affirmation telling yourself, I'm enough, I'm enough, I'm enough. We have to be willing to commit to the work of the journey of enoughness, right? Which is like, you're starting here and you will only come back home. You will come back to the same spot and realize that you were worthy all along. But it does take a journey that you need to be willing to take or to make for you to truly understand that.
So what do you tell people is a good starting place? So we're talking about a lot of stuff, some woo stuff, maybe, people are listening and they're like, what are they even talking? What does that work look like? What can folks start with?
If you feel lost and you don't know who you are and what your journey really is, it's therapy. There's something about talking to a professional that knows how to listen to you, who can just make you feel held and acknowledged and heard. There's tremendous healing in just that, having somebody next to you that knows how to receive and hold space for you as you talk things through.
And we're so privileged to be able to afford it also.
And that's something that, definitely needs to shift.
We got to work on. Yeah.
That we got to work on. I mean, what's been really important for me is, and I think for most people, but especially women, is somatic therapy and coming back to the body and having the body kind of take over. The mind is in the passenger seat, or just throw it in the trunk and let the body take over and process trauma and wounds that our bodies are holding on to. I think that starts with creating space to even be able to hear anything at all. Like I said before, we're rushing around, always going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and creating space to learn how to sit with ourselves and the feelings that we are actually experiencing and letting them be felt is so important. Because when that little voice comes up and it's feeling afraid or it's feeling anxious or whatever it might be, it does have a message. We're so conditioned to like push it back down so that we can keep performing and keep expanding. But when we listen to those little messages inside, they have something really important for us. And that's the only way to grow, tapping into those messages. And that happens when you sit in stillness. You just have to figure out whatever that is for you. Is it meditation? Is it prayer? Is it moving meditation? Is it going for a run? Is it driving your car and having no destination to go to? Whatever allows you to tap into those messages and those voices inside and the feelings, when you allow for those to be felt, you begin to become a safe space for yourself. You begin to become a safe person. And when you can feel safe with yourself, when you are that partner that says, I'm still here, I'm with you, I'm listening, you're safe enough to be that safe person for other people. And we're lucky that there are a lot of healers on this planet that have done this work, that continue to do this work. They are therapists, they are shamans, they are all sorts of things, or they're just people. But they've done this work and they have become safe people. And those are the people that I hope we can all find and sit down in conversation with as well, because they can guide us in those moments when we're feeling a lot.
Beautifully said, my love. Beautifully said. All right. Final question here. If you could say anything to your future self, future Emily, Grandma Emily, what would it be?
Thank you for not giving up on me. And thank you for paving the way, a brand new way, and for being courageous and brave enough to do so.
I love that. And I want to say, speaking of reflections, there was one moment this year since we did our podcast that's changed my life. And I feel like I'm not even the same person I was when I interviewed you, let alone who I was 2 weeks ago. But it changed my life when you asked me one day, we were having a really intense discussion, and you said, what is enough? It wasn't about me. It was, what is enough? What's enough money? What's enough work? What's enough impact? And it really made me think, because despite me trying to get off the patriarchal hamster wheel, I've still been on it. And you asking me, baby, what is enough? Will there ever be enough? Made me realize the answer was no. There will never be enough unless I choose it.
I love that. I just wanted to add one thing, because I think that there's, because we're talking about reflecting and reflecting back on our podcast that was now recorded over a year ago. I think it's important for me to mention something that I learned after that I've been reflecting on a lot, that has changed my perspective slightly. I am so not the only victim of the patriarchy here. When we recorded the podcast, I think I very much lived in that place of, oh, I'm the one who has suffered. I'm the one who's oppressed. Hi, sweetheart. I'm the one who is a victim of the patriarchy. Can I help you, sweetheart? Really itchy. You're really itchy? Okay. Do you want to stand here for a moment? Okay. I'm just going to say one more thought. But in that moment, I realized that we are both suffering from the same system. We are both victims here. And it's so easy to, as like the overtly oppressed one, it's so clear that because I'm a woman, I have been suffering greatly because of the patriarchy. But I realized how important it is for me to remember that you, my partner, my husband, is also a victim of the same patriarchy and the same systems. And in the healing work that we've done together, both individually and as a couple, I've seen how you've had to wrestle with the messaging and the conditioning that the patriarchy put upon you as a young boy, and then a young man, and then a full-grown man. And you've had to go through so much healing and so much work to realize that you are not that. And to also realize that as long as I suffer from this, you will suffer from it. And that we truly need to be two wings of a bird. You know, we both need to thrive. And if you're thriving from a system and the other part of us isn't, then we're all suffering. women and mothers, we are not the only ones struggling. The struggle might be different, but I really feel that it's important that we remember that we are all in this and we all need to heal. We all need to do the work. Yeah. That just felt like a big one for me when I really understood how much it hurt you too.
It was a huge moment, and I'd never felt more seen there when you realized that I was hurting too. The pressure, the armor that we have to put on every day, the burden that's placed on our shoulders, even to provide and protect, and all the things that have been drilled into our minds to create and create and create, to build a life, all of these things. And I'm so grateful.
Well, I mean, it may seem like being the poster child of the patriarchy is a great thing. Like, what a privilege. And it is. And yet, what a freaking burden to have to live up to that. Mm-hmm. And constantly chasing something, not remembering what is actually enough.
And not appreciating what's right there in front of you.
Exactly. And never feeling that anything you do will ever be enough. You have to be better. You have to do better. Yeah. Keep running, keep expanding. And that is not balance. That is not health. And that is not truth. So I thank you so much, my love, for showing me what that healing looks like. It really taught me something, and it inspired me so much too on my healing journey.
Yeah, we're all healing. Men, women, non-binary, trans folks, we're all healing from the same system. We all have the same traumas. They're manifesting in different ways. And we have to find a way to see each other in all of it. And I love you so much. And you're gonna be a yearly guest. We're gonna do one more season of the show. We're gonna give it a go. We're gonna do one more season of Man Enough, and you'll have to come on, and we'll do a whole nother hour together, because this is just a recap. You're just one of the few amazing people that are on this episode.
So you guys really have so many amazing people.
But you're my favorite.
You guys are doing such a great job.
Okay, my lovely witch. Thank you.
I'll bring my Palo Santo next time. And my sage.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to sage all of us.
I'm just gonna be saging everyone.
Liz is gonna be so down. Jamie's gonna be like, "Oh my God, Emily, really? Oh my God."
Oh, here she goes again.
Here she goes.
I love you all. Thank you for having me again.
Oh God.
We can't. Do we have to introduce this next one?
Do we have to introduce this guy? He gave us. Did he send us a video and voice?
Wait, Rainn Wilson.
No,
you can't come in.
Let's just skip through Rainn. Let's just.
No.
What do you mean?
What do you mean skip through Rainn?
Rainn lives closer to this studio than I do. Rainn, I'm okay. He couldn't drive the 45 minutes.
He's he's such an idiot.
But you know what?
Guys, we can't put that.
No, that's going in because he knows. But you love Rainn.
I do. I love Rainn. I know you love him too, even though he's not in the studio with us. He's so sweet and says he listens to the podcast all the time, which I feel like if your friends don't have to listen to your podcast,
yeah, right.
I think that should be a human right in this economy and with the amount of content out there. But he actually does listen to your podcast, even though
really
he is
sweet.
your friend. So
we
I think
are
that
very
means
close, and we have a small men's group that he's a part of, and we will play his clip, even though he didn't drive down.
Hey there, everybody at Man Enough. It's me, Rainn Wilson, and thank you so much for this invitation to revisit my episode of Man Enough, what I've been considering since that conversation. What a thrill. I'm a huge fan of the podcast, first of all. I've listened to a ton of the episodes. I've gotten so much out of them. And I guess, the main thing for me that it triggered is, for my whole life, I kind of felt a little less than, that I was not manly enough, that I was quirky, that I was sensitive, that I had a lot of feelings, that I was not hyper competitive or aggressive in the right way. And it's allowed me to kind of reframe that into positives. This in this modern age, especially in these last 5 or 10 years, we're really looking at manhood and ways that the definition of it is hurt our planet, our families, ourselves, you name it. And those qualities in me that I think through most of my life I thought of as weakness, I see as strength, and ones that I should actually cultivate more. I've probably over time become more aggressive and competitive, and I could maybe go back to, we see my bassoon in the background here that I used to play in high school when I was a total abject nerd. And there's a picture of me. There's a picture of me over my other shoulder at age 14 or 15. And, to revisit that time when I fully embraced being a sensitive, artsy dork. And maybe the world needs some more sensitive, artsy dorks. I know it's something my wife appreciates, which is fantastic, lucky for me. And raising a teenage son in this very difficult environment, I'm happy and proud to be questioning what it is to be a male in the world, and how to be a giver and not a taker, how to be a nurturer, a supporter, a protector, a defender, and not some kind of misconstrued idea of what a warrior is or should be doing. So it's touched me greatly. And thank you for having these conversations. So important. And thanks for letting me ruminate back on that brief visit so long ago. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
So one of my favorite episodes this year, I remember sitting right here when Emmanuel Acho came on the show and having this feeling. I remember like almost glancing at you and looking over at you and thinking like, this isn't how we thought this was going to go. Mm-hmm. And that episode turned out to be, I think, one of the most powerful because it was a literal demonstration of what this work is, which is how do we call men in and invite them with love and compassion and understanding to remove the armor.
He came in like Superman with his cape on and all this stuff. And, we wanted to see Clark Kent. Like, what's underneath all that stuff? And then which turned it was, he was like, I feel like I'm not enough for you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not being enough.
Right.
And we were like, okay,
whoa,
who's this? Whoa, why? And that shifted the whole thing.
That's why this conversation is so important. And Emmanuel, that's why we love you. Let's go to Emmanuel.
Yes.
What is up, man enough family? I'm not gonna lie. I miss y'all. It's been way too long and y'all better have me on again. But updates. What's making me feel man enough these days? I would start by saying the opportunity to speak to so many people. It's been great. Speaking at commencement for the University of Texas, just a phenomenal thing. Being able to share my vulnerabilities, being able to share my authenticities, being able to share my stories with friends, being able to share my stories with corporations, being able to share my stories with people. It's making me feel man enough. How am I helping others feel like they are enough? That's a good one too. I think I've become a lot more vulnerable since we all last spoke. And by extending my listening ear, my vulnerability, and just letting people know like it's okay to be real with yourself. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to cry. It's okay to take off your armor. I think that's how I've helped people feel enough. What's changed since we last spoke? Like I said, since we last spoke, I just had to get real and raw with myself. Like life is short and you have to understand, like, are you truly living in a manner that will make you happy? And that's what I've been a lot more introspective of lately. Am I living in a manner that will make me happy? Or am I just trying to check off boxes? Because y'all know me, I just try to check off boxes. If I could say anything to my future self, what would I say? make a life filled with memories. That's what I would tell my future self. Make a life filled with memories. I've learned a lot this year that things are cool. Things that you can buy, they come, they go. But life is all about memories. Memories that you can hold on to. Memories that won't go anywhere. Memories that are trapped in here. And so I think I've really tried to lean more into living a life that's memorable. So that's what I would tell my future self. Until next time, my friends, I'll see y'all in person.
Wow. That's really cool to hear.
That he has taken his armor off since then?
Yeah. Well, I've checked in with him a few times since then. Just we've sent voice notes back and forth, and even then, he's like, yeah, he's been very vulnerable. This is the double bottom line. This is the impact, and we're changing. Our guests are changing. Our listeners, hopefully, some of them for sure are changing, and that gives me hope.
Yeah.
Thanks, Emmanuel. So, hey, let's go on to, if I use these lyrics, who do you think of? You got to keep your head up.
Mm-hmm.
So Andy was on the show at the very beginning when we were just getting to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a dear friend,
Yeah.
right? One of our best, closest brother. And, of course, we want to honor him, make him feel seen in what he's doing in the world. But then the conversation, we started talking about laundry and stuff. And then you had your comments. And I was like, back off. Back off my dude right here. Okay, this is a guy that I know does the work. But what that allowed for was, even though we love each other and we're doing work, no, we have to address this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that, regardless. And also, he demonstrated, like you just said, that, no, this is more important than me.
Yeah.
Let's
and
talk
stepping
about
up.
this.
Yeah.
Stepping
I
up.
loved the way that he reacted to that, and rewatching that episode, I felt like healed by it. By reconnecting with especially Andy's reaction to being challenged by, again, his friends being there. He doesn't know me. I'm just like there at the table and holding space for me and for what I was saying and really incorporating it. And, you know, I've seen him since then. And I know that was, again, like many of our conversations, has stuck with him and transformed him.
That's right.
I mean, he's transformed himself through it. So I love Andy. I love Andy.
Well, let's hear what he has to say.
Let's hear it.
The last time I didn't feel enough, I would say probably the pandemic. My self-worth up until that point, without knowing it, I think was pretty wrapped up, like many of us, in my job and in my performances and in my success and achievements. And so when that halted, it made me feel very confused about that word, enough. I think I'm still learning how to gain worth from inside myself. That seems like a practice that I'm trying to get better at. I've been doing some meditation, I've been doing therapy, I've been doing some journaling, a lot of self-compassion, you know, really talking to myself a lot, which makes me sound like a crazy person, but this is where we're at. And just like creating space in my day and time to try and figure out how to get it from inside as opposed to outside. I think to help others feel like they're enough, because I'm so autobiographical in my music, a lot of my music right now is dealing with these topics. So I'm singing about it, and I'm about to go on tour, and I was just on tour. And so, like I said, like, it's really important to create space for yourself to work on how to create your own sense of worth. And so sometimes at my shows, I create little pockets throughout the show where I try to create that space for other people. And it's really, really sweet when it works. Raising my little girls, to make sure they feel like they're enough, I think we're just like very careful about the way that we compliment them. Trying to not make it super achievement-based, but more process-based. Oh, I really like the way that you were kind through that process. I really like how you didn't give up on that. As opposed to, you're the smartest one in class, sick. You got an A, oh my God, great. Trying to praise qualities instead of achievements. We're trying. Nobody knows how to do this. We're doing our best.
Andy, we love you so much, brother. Thank you for that message. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to catch up with Shaka Senghor.
Shaka Senghor. What a powerhouse. I'm going to share a quick story about Shaka before we start, just to paint a picture of the man that he is. We have a friend who listened to that episode of the podcast, and her baby's father is in prison for life for murder. And she told me that she reached out to Shaka for some advice for her daughter. And Shaka offered to go sit down with them and to meet her daughter and hold space so she could ask Shaka any question that she had about being in prison and maybe why her dad wasn't returning letters and things like that and what it's like. And he gave his time and just sat there and just loved on this little girl who never has really gotten to know her father and just painted a picture of what that's like in there and masculinity. And she just was raving about him. And it was just so sweet to hear something, not from a book, not from a movie, not from a publicist, but like a real life experience from a friend of how he has impacted and what his impact is. So with that, Jamie, you got a chance to sit down with Shaka. So
I did indeed. And in fact, let's just play it rather than me tell you about it. We'll play it right now.
It's a great idea.
Where were
Jamie.
you? Why weren't you there for it?
You didn't invite me.
That's right. I didn't invite you. Shaka Senghor, Shaka, brother, you were on our podcast several months back. You rocked our world. And we're really, really, really grateful how much it impacted us, my family, my kids. So thank you, man. What you been doing? We asked you last time. We started with when's the last time you didn't feel enough? And you shared with us, and forgive me for bringing it up now, but you shared with us when your younger brother was murdered and how you were able to show up for that. And that at that time you hadn't felt enough. If I were to ask you again now, since that time, how now have you been able to feel enough? What are you doing now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And first of all, I'm just truly honored to be a part of the season finale. I think what you all are doing is just incredible. The stories, the conversations are just, life-changing. I've seen it in people, the way that they're thinking about things differently as a result of the conversation that you all are generating. At this point in my life, where do I feel enough? I think a lot of it is really, in my work contributions right now and what I'm able to contribute to our team, our company is at, which gives me an opportunity to kind of get back into a role that I love, which is kind of the teaching, to be able to bring my lived experience, my social impact work experience into a workspace and have real conversations and create space for our staff, a lot of whom are, they're young and they're early in their career. And, that feels special to me. It feels sacred to know that they're trusting me to empower them to really develop and grow. And I feel like that's enough. I've actually started taking a lot of stuff off my plate. I'm no longer interested in a lot of the sidebar things that people kind of throw at me and want me to be a part of. And I'm really just locked in with the team.
Oh, man, good for you. That's good to hear that you're taking some things off your plate.
Yeah.
And, able to enjoy a life that for so long you may have not been able to. I love that. To bring up something going on right now in the world. We know that this school got shot down. And these broken hearts and these babies that we are here to protect. And, I think about this individual that chose to do this, this horrific, terrible thing. And I also then think, what was this person feeling that he would do such a thing? To grow up and to feel whatever this person was feeling, to go and want to hurt our babies, hurt his own family, hurt the world. I don't want to make no excuses for him. But I see an individual like this, and if we see everyone as one human family, what can we do better? And you yourself made some choices in your life that hurt people, and look at the man that you've become, and maybe that you can speak to how we are all culpable in the upbringing and the demise or the upliftment of somebody.
Yeah, when I found out the news, I was actually getting ready to go pick my son up from school. And, en route to going to get my son, it's just all these images of these kids that I see every day. And just the thought, of the devastation that these families must be feeling was really heart wrenching. And, I don't think, making excuses for people's behavior is, I don't think that's something that any of us ever want to do or ever want to hear. Sometimes it takes us time to get to a space where we can make sense of it. I haven't quite got there yet, to be able to even make sense of what this person was going through, what has transpired in his life. I don't know anything about, his upbringing, but what I do know is that, people are hurting in ways that we just don't talk enough about. And because oftentimes we're just so fixated on the things that cause us harm or that we disagree with, that we don't really take the time to really assess, like, why are these things continuing to happen? Like, we just had the horrific shooting in Buffalo, where 10 people lost their lives in a grocery store. And those families are, I can't even imagine what it's like for them to try to pick up the pieces when right on the heels of that, we get this, another tragic shooting. And so the reality is that there's collective pain. There's collective pain associated with the tragedies we continue to see, visually, how these things have penetrated our households. And oftentimes we don't even have a grace period to just breathe and say, okay, let me just unpack what happened with this thing before something else happens. And so for me, what I would hope is that our human family is really leaning into loving on the most hurt and the most vulnerable of people, not alienating them when they make you uncomfortable. I just hope collectively we really start leaning deeper into our personal healing so that we can lean deeper into our collective healing.
Yeah, well said. Appreciate that. Yeah, we got our young men that we want to be different than us, and we want our boys, all people, but specifically speaking about boys, since we are, talking about man enough, their boys to be better. We want to collectively have our generations an ever progressive form of humanity, right? And one of the ways that we're able to do that is to be transparent, open, and honest. I have conversations with my son where I tell him about my missteps, where I've hurt people, what accountability looks like. Because so often we want to posture, wear our Superman cape, be seen as powerful. Showing vulnerability and weakness is oftentimes not seen as powerful. So I try to represent to my son, man, this is where I've messed up. This is where I've learned. But one of the things that we have to do is be accountable, not make excuses. There are explanations. I in my life where I've hurt people, I have said, I don't want to make any excuses. There was no excuse for it. But I can offer maybe something that might have an explanation to how I got here.
Absolutely.
Right. So that we can be accountable and change our behavior. And then maybe my son may not follow in those footsteps. Do you find yourself in your life having those conversations, with your kids or as a father?
I grew up in an old school model where kids are to be seen, not heard. There wasn't a ton of sharing about, our parents' experiences. And so we just didn't, growing up, I just didn't have context about how complex it is to be a human being, to navigate adulthood, to navigate heartbreak, to navigate disappointments and fears and shame and, success and failures and all the different things. And so I'm super intentional about having those clarifying conversations with my youngest son, as well as the kids that I mentor. I think it's important that when I show up in those spaces that I'm being just authentic to what my experiences are, because there's tons of wisdom that comes with overcoming the things that I've had to overcome. And so, I'm just an open book with my son. And, obviously I tailor the messages to his age, but he's a super smart kid. So, he has deep penetrating questions, and, we sit and we talk and we're in it, and I love it. I love the openness in which I can communicate to him, because I see the impact it has on his development and how he's thinking about life and thinking about his own experiences.
Yeah, do you ever get tired of talking about your history, your life?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually, been super intentional about not talking about things that I don't care to talk about. That's why I wrote a book. I always refer people to the book. You really
You
want to
can
know
read the
about
book.
that part? Yeah. I mean, but there's moments where it's contextual, right? Where it really is important to bring that up. But, I've lived a lot of life at this point, especially when I think about my past, it was like over 30 years ago that I was, first incarcerated. I've been out now for 12 years. What I've done in this 12 years is much more exciting than what led me down that path. However, I know it's important sometimes to contextualize, but I want to talk about the things that are light. I want to talk about the things that I'm passionate about, that I love, that excite me, that, I go to
Well,
bed
tell me.
thinking about,
Tell me,
I mean,
share
yeah,
with us something that brings you light and brings you joy.
yeah, it's being creative, being in my creative space. My new book really is exciting to me, to see
What's the
people
name of your
react
book?
to that. Letters to the Sons of Society. And, that's exciting. I have a new campaign I'm kicking off during Father's Day called Love Dad. And it's an invitation for dads. And of course, you all will be getting that invitation relatively soon. But it's an
Please.
invitation for dads to write letters to kids, to their kids. And we're going to turn that into a book, and all the proceeds will go to the Boys and Girls Club of Southeastern Michigan. And these dads are bringing all the smoke. I mean, it's beautiful, it's poetic, it's vulnerable, it's love. And, so that's exciting to me right now, is bringing more love into the world, bringing more wisdom into the world, and really creating space for dads to talk about the things that really matter to us.
That's beautiful. I oftentimes, I always know the heart of somebody. When I ask someone, tell me something that's bringing you joy in your life. Oftentimes the ones that I value the most will speak about something that is outward. It's bringing you joy to see how others are progressing and how the world is benefiting from it. And that is what's bringing you joy. And that is really sweet to hear about that, because that's the big picture. Tell me also something that tangibly just for you, that Shaka just is bringing you joy, that is, I don't want to say it's selfish, but something that you do for yourself that is not about serving others.
I haven't taken a vacation, since I've been out of prison. I've traveled a bunch of places, but I haven't taken a vacation. So this will be the first time that I'm like really taking a vacation. I am not doing nothing. I'm so excited about it. I'm like, yo, don't call me about nothing related to work, because the answer is no. I'm gonna be mostly in shorts and t-shirt and flip-flops.
Good.
And I'm chilling. I'm like super, super chilling. So that makes me really, really excited that, not just the thought of like not doing anything, but the thought of like really choosing myself. I deserve to have time off and just enjoy myself.
Yes, you do, brother. Well, okay, we're gonna wrap up soon, but real quick before we do, tell me, you got this gold record hanging on your wall, and I can't help but notice it. My world came from the music industry, and so those things peep out at me. So, what's that about?
Yeah, so it's not a real gold record, but hopefully one day it will be. It was a gift from a friend of mine who, really just kind of, we always talk about manifestation and putting things into the universe. And so there were two things happening big last year. One was, a new book coming out, which actually ended up coming out in January. And I was able to contribute to a song on Nas's last album,
Yes,
King's
sir.
Disease 2. And, so it was just a celebration of those two moments merged together. And it's really exciting and really just a true honor to use words to impact different spaces. And, being on an album with Nas was just like, I mean, does it even get any better than that? He's one of the greatest hip hop artists of all time. And so
that's not.
To have that reminder is just a cool piece to hang on the wall.
Beautiful, man. I love it. You are a man that has experienced a lot in life, and you have not hid behind it. You have owned your joy and also owned your pain and shared it with the world. I know that you were created noble, and as we are trying to make this world this little ball of dust that we all live on and fight over, one country over the next and all this stuff and kill each other and all this, our purpose is to really experience joy and have others experience joy. And I am super glad that in spite of some of your struggles and your suffering, that you've been able to experience it now and to build and have a family and to have people be inspired by your words. I am one of them. Thank you, brother, for joining us and being a part of our finale, being a part of our work. And I hope next season, man, we'll be doing more stuff and, we're going to knock on your door.
All right. Thank y'all so much for having me. Peace.
Peace out.
Jackson Katz is someone that we've had on the show that I really nerded out about.
Oh, yeah, sure did.
He's such a crucial voice in this space and has been talking about this stuff before everyone else has. I love that there's always a gazillion books behind
and
him.
He's read them all.
He's right. That's what I thought. I was like, has he? I was like, yeah, he has. He totally has.
It's not performative. Like I like the color or that's a great book.
No. Like they're not color coded. They're just he's all read them.
What I love about him is that he has a gift of speaking the truth.
He does.
And not alienating those that felt different. He really was good about it. Like he validating, like, oh, I know where you're coming from over here. But Matt, and then he was really good at that.
Yeah, smart and accessible.
Learned a lot.
Yeah, he's a special one. So let's go to Jackson.
Hi, Justin, Jamie, and Liz. I've been thinking a lot about your podcast and my experience on your podcast since we've last spoken. And, so much has happened. And things that are weighing heavily on me and a lot of other people. I mean, the United States is taking a huge leap backwards in terms of the of women's rights and basic reproductive justice. There's so many events that have been happening that really highlight some of the gender issues that you're bringing to the forefront in talking about, and especially when it comes to men. And some people will see a discussion about politics as somehow different from or an evasion away from talking about questions of men and men's vulnerability and some of the issues that you highlight on your show. But I think they're all directly connected, and I think we really do have a crisis in our society and it's around the world of men acting out and trying to hang on to a shrinking, sort of piece of the pie. At least that's how many men, especially white men, see it. And I think that a lot of white men who are feeling threatened are using violence as a way to gain back or try to take back or try to maintain their sort of control or their centrality. And when you say, am I enough? Am I doing enough? Like I feel like I'm doing a lot, but I don't feel like it's enough because I feel like the problems continue to cascade. And I feel like the work that I and others are doing, especially those of us who are trying to sort of call attention to the narrow ways in which men and young men across class, race, ethnicity, and every other category are socialized. I think there's never been a more important time to do this work, frankly, with the crises compounding and the political situation going in the opposite direction, and then you have climate change on top of everything else that is this like sword of Damocles hanging over the head of humanity. And then how are we going to solve that if we're not even able to, deal with some basic questions of equity and justice and fairness? And I do remember when we talked back several months ago when we talked about abortion rights and the role of men in abortion rights. This has now become front and center in our culture because of the impending rollback of reproductive rights, especially for women. And I think it's really important that myself and other men step up our game and publicly support women, publicly support reproductive justice in all its forms. And that's not easy work, I think, because there's pushback. There's a lot of controversy around that. And there, clearly we have a divided country, although having said it's a divided country, it's not really divided. I think the strong majority is pro-choice and wants women and others to have full reproductive control of their own bodies. The dialogues that you that you create and then promulgate throughout the social media universe and through the digital universe, the honest conversations, including with men who in some cases don't talk about the issues that they, in other parts of their life that they do on your podcast. I think that's a really incredibly valuable service. But I think going forward, my hope is that you have even more dialogue that maps, or I should say, marries the personal to the political, and not just stays in the interpersonal or the spiritual realm, but connects the interpersonal and spiritual realm to the social and political realm even more explicitly. Because in a world where we have this incredible level of violence, mostly committed by men, both as individuals or as state actors, we really do need men talking about this. And we really do need men figuring out a way to connect with each other as well as women and others to figure out how we can be more constructive. And I think if men who believe in nonviolence and justice and fairness remain silent or take a step back and don't use whatever platform of influence we have, we're giving even more power to those men who are enacting abuse and violence, in a sense, in our name, if we're silent. And I don't want men, including white men, who have power, to be enacting that power in abusive ways in my name. And the way to counteract that is to speak up. And again, I know you all know this, but I just wanted to say I really appreciate and I'm grateful to you for doing what you're doing in an ongoing fashion and creating the forum where these kinds of sentiments, both personal and political, can be expressed. So thank you again, and more power to you. And I look forward to walking with you into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. That is so important now more than ever. Joining us now in the studio is Giacomo Gianiotti. Tell us something, a bite-sized piece, like a quick version. What is become important to you in the last little bit?
I think what's something that's become important to me? I think just taking a lot of pressure off myself for anything, like whether it's for a job to come or for something in my family to come or anything that I'm trying to manifest in my life and I want, whether it's like a selfish thing or something that's really real. Just taking the pressure off and just kind of trusting the universe and just saying, you know what, that's going to come to me when it's supposed to come to me, you know, and it's not something that I'm great at. I struggle like everybody every day, but I try to remind myself every day of like, that'll come when it's supposed to. Don't have all this like pressure that needs to come now, you know, to enjoy the journey. Like a lot of people say, you know, that classic, it's not about the finish line. It's about the journey. Enjoy this, you know, you're not where you want to be, but enjoy this moment is valid in itself. There's learning here that's happening. There's growth here. So enjoy it, you know, be present in it, you know, take the opportunity to take something from this moment.
Sweet. I know also that you have recently gone through some stuff in your life and that you've been sharing that, well, you shared it with us, and you also are using your voice to speak about the rights of women and their right to choose and to have an abortion, and because of your own experience as well, you've gone through. So we appreciate you coming back and sharing your vulnerability and actually having a voice in that way. And, you know, we've got about 45 minutes of previous conversation that we're going to use and share with the world. But well, I did want people to hear right now that you have been using your voice and your experience to champion those things.
And I hope that this conversation can lead to other ones, just like my sharing it led to a conversation between the two of you. And, you know, it's just that snowball effect that I hope continues. And I'm grateful that you guys allowed me to come here and share it.
Well, I'm curious, since you came on our show, it's been a while. A lot has happened in the world. Can you share something that's brought you joy lately?
Well, I got to work in my home country where I was born, which was a really beautiful experience. I haven't worked there since I was, I think, 18 years old. So to be able to, you know, live and work in this place that I grew up in part-time in Italy was really amazing and rewarding, and something I kind of dreamed about, because my pursuit to my career was always taking me away from my Italian family. And so it was always like shoehorning 3 days or a week here or there to like see my family in Italy, because it's very far away. It's a whole thing to get there. It's not like I can just, like New York, I could just kind of fly back for a weekend. You don't really go to Italy for a weekend. So it was, I mean, some people do.
Yeah, that's true.
Bless them. But, you know, so to be able to like do what I love and like play this character and do this movie. And at the end of the night, go home and have dinner with my grandmother. I was just like, I'm on cloud 9.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
How
Like,
did you?
Doesn't get
But how
better
did
than
you
that.
tell your grandma you can't eat carbs? How did you tell your
Yeah.
Italian grandmother, don't make me
So I'll
pasta?
actually tell you a funny story. So I came back and for like a little break in Rome, because I was shooting in Bologna in the north of Italy, and my family's all in Rome. So I come back to Rome, and she's like, "Oh, we're going to this place. We're going for lunch." And I was like, "Okay, great, Grandma." Like, no, like, great. So I was just like, I'm on a movie, and I'm playing this like really like in shape guy. So just be ready. Like I'm not gonna eat 3 courses or 8 courses. I'm just probably just gonna have like a little salad. She's like, yeah, whatever. So we get to the restaurant with my wife. We're there. And I order, the waitress comes over, and I say, I like this like bowl, this like rice and some vegetables. That sounds really nice. I'll get that. And I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Excuse me, guys. So I go to the bathroom. I come back. We're talking for about 15, 20 minutes, and a carbonara is placed on my plate. And I go, oh, no, sorry, this is somebody else's, like, I'm a mistake. And my grandmother holds the hand down of the waiter like this and goes, no, that's for you. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I ordered the bowl. And then the waitress is kind of looking at me like, sorry, like, I couldn't overtake her. She was very aggressive.
The matriarch is respected.
So cute.
So she was like, no, you're sitting there and you're going to eat that plate of pasta. And I, of course, obliged and was very happy to oblige.
The carbonara.
But, that's the Italian grandmothers. Don't play. Don't mess around. So
that's so cute.
Yeah.
That's
You just walked another 10,000 steps.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to walk home. I'll meet you guys there.
It'll be fine.
I'll meet you guys there.
Circle around the Coliseum a couple times.
Exactly.
You, my friend, are man enough.
Yes, you are.
For damn sure. We will be right back.
Yes.
Look, let's be honest. None of us would be here. This podcast would for sure not exist if I wasn't born.
Yeah.
Wait. What? None of us would be here?
At this table.
Oh, at this table.
Oh, yeah. No, you were existing for like 20 years before I was
Oh,
born.
wow. I am a grandpa.
Accept it.
Oh, yeah.
Will be.
No, you
will
were
be.
already here. In fact, did you know Jamie was friends with my mother?
I was not friends with your mother. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I
You were
was
like 17. You were like 17 when you met my mom.
you kidding? I was like 9 years old. I had a crush on your mom. Your mom was.
That's what it was.
Oh my God, I had the biggest crush on his
That
mom.
is adorable.
I was like
My
nine.
mom
I
is a
mean,
beautiful
that
woman.
whole story.
But all that to say, an episode that brought me profound healing was the one with me and my dad.
Yeah.
So I had a little conversation with my dad. Hello, Daddy.
Hello, my son.
Welcome back to the podcast.
It's good to be back. It's been a while.
It's been really sweet. I can't even tell you how many, especially men, have told me how healing that conversation was for them, or how they've sent that conversation to their fathers who are still alive. How are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling about that? How did you feel about that podcast episode?
It was. I just had to let go, because it's not something that you're open to. So I just had to just be open, because it was pulling everything out of me and being able to own it. And that was probably, the best, because, learning about being, enough when you've strived all your life to be more, you want to be everything to everybody instead of being enough for yourself. And so the podcast kind of opened me up to understanding that about me, and that I wasn't living really for myself. I was always living for everybody else. And I was never enough, because I had so much I had to do. So learning that, I think, is giving me a calmness that I didn't have before. So it was pretty cool. You make me think, son, just more than anything.
Well, I mean, that's what, look, I mean, my kids are teaching me, right? I'm learning so much from them, and I imagine that's going to continue. And so I love that you are open to learning from me. I think that's really sweet. And I'm
Well,
learning from you, watching you learn, because I'm learning that, wow, at 73, I can still grow. What a gift you've given me to be able to see you at your age being willing to sit in that cold plunge, that emotional, metaphorical cold plunge, and hear uncomfortable things and hear about things that made me unhappy and my resentments, and hold it and be man enough to hear it without making me feel bad or that I'm wrong. What a model and an example that you've set. And I'm so grateful for that, Dad.
I'm so grateful that we could actually open up and talk. And hey, if it took a podcast, then I am so happy that I was on the podcast.
I've noticed that it's so easy. I can have conversations with anybody and be vulnerable with so many people, but it's always been the hardest with you and with Mom.
Yeah.
And that's how I know that's where I need to spend more time, which is, as you know, like off camera. Really what I've been focused on this last year is really finding a way to be vulnerable and showing you guys all these parts of me that maybe I didn't allow you to see for a long time. And I think that it's been a real gift. So we'll have you on a full episode again next season. You'll be a seasoned guest. But I want to ask you, because this is just the season finale, and it's a quick check-in. What is making you feel enough these days?
What's making me feel enough, honestly, is my family. And the acceptance that I feel when my grandkids run and give me a big hug. When they say, "Papa, Papa," I am more than enough. I'm Papa. So
you're Papa.
It's so gratifying for me. Never thought I'd ever have anything like that. Never knew I could feel that way.
You are so special, Daddy. I love how in touch you are with your feelings. And one of my favorite moments, just for our listeners, is, I got diagnosed with skin cancer on my nose. It was a basal cell carcinoma, which is a very common, not aggressive type of skin cancer. But I was really freaked out about it. Also freaked out because it's on my nose. And when for so long, the world or this industry is focused on your looks, when you get something like that on your nose, it can really mess you up. And it really messed me up, because I was like, wow, am I going to be so silly, but am I going to be not attractive anymore? Am I going to, all the things that go through my mind. And I remember the first instinct I had when I was going to go have the surgery was like, oh, I want my daddy to be there. And then my second one was like, oh no, I can handle it on my own. I should call a friend. But I remember, like, why did I have that second thought? What is it about me that, like, I need to do it on my own? My dad's here and he's around. And so I texted you and I said, Dad, you want to come with me? And you were like, yes, I'll be there. And you came over, we drove down together and prayed together, and they got it out on the first try, and we cried together. And I was like, it was such a special moment that if I hadn't been doing this work and we hadn't been doing this work, we wouldn't have shared together. So for anybody who's out there listening, who has a parent who's still around, and maybe you haven't had a chance to go vulnerable or get deep with that parent, I promise you that there's hope, and to make an effort, because old dogs can learn new tricks, as my dad has shown. I love you so much, Daddy.
I love you, son. Thanks for this.
We'll have you back next season. It'll be great. We'll do a full episode together.
All right. I can't wait.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up, because we've had a heck of a season.
Yeah.
We've had amazing people that have rejoined us, and it has been a pleasure to do this with both of you. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I love you both. I appreciate what I've learned from you, and maybe I've been able to share a thing or two that's stuck with you, and to our audience who's, allow us to do a season 2. Yeah. So with that, let's say goodbye. Hopefully I don't have to see you, Justin, for at least 3 months. When are we picking up again? Just don't call me for 3 months. Just please.
Okay. You'll have to twist my arm.
Oh, yeah, right. Right. You just texted me last week, like, why don't you come up here to Ojai anymore? We just bought a house, and you're like, you're never going to come see us again. So don't pretend you don't.
And you text me 25 times a day because Rome is burning.
Because love is love. Because love is love.
Love is love.
Love is love. All right. Well, until next season, which is probably going to come very soon.
Yep.
It is.
I am Justin Baldoni.
I'm Liz Plank.
And I'm Jamie Heath.
And this is
Man Enough.